of those attacks, hate violence erupted on city streets across the country, and members of my community were killed. I was a college kid back then, but I joined a generation of Sikh and Muslim Americans who became activists at that time to protect our families from hate violence on the street or unjust policies by the state. And so I learned how to make films and organize, and I became a lawyer, and for almost 2 decades, with every film, with every campaign, with every lawsuit, I thought we were making the nation safer for the next generation. Fast forward, now I'm a mother. Ani is a mother. And we are reckoning with the fact that we are raising our children in a time that white nationalists hail as their great awakening. A time when executive orders and policies rain down on us every day so that it is hard to breathe. A time when hate crimes are skyrocketing once again, and I feel breathless in my body. Are you feeling breathless these days? When you pick up the news and you read the latest headlines, the details of the latest mass shooting, or about the kids caged at the border, do you feel breathless when you're holding someone close to you who is feeling the crisis of these things firsthand? Or maybe you feel breathless just by being in the body that you occupy, moving through the world in this time. Maybe that's enough for you to feel constriction in your chest. You know, I always thought that my breathlessness was a sign of my weakness. But I want to tell you what a wise friend told me, that your breathlessness is a sign of your bravery. It means that we are awake to what's happening around us in the world right now. For right now, as we gather tonight, we know that far-right supremacist movements are on the rise, here in the United States, across Europe, and around the globe, propping up demagogues, mainstreaming nativism, undermining democracies, politicizing the very notion of truth. And we know that our country, the United States, is in the midst of a massive demographic transition, that within 25 years, the number of people of color will exceed the number of white people for the first time since colonization, and we are at a crossroads. Will we birth a nation that has never been? A nation that is multi-racial, multi-faith, multicultural, multi-gendered, where power is shared, and we strive to protect the dignity of every person? Or will we continue to descend into a kind of civil war? A power struggle with those who want to return America to a past where only a certain class of white people hold cultural, political, and economic dominion. The stakes become dire when we think of climate change. You see, those same supremacist ideologies that justify colonialism, the rape and conquest of black and brown people around the globe, those same supremacist ideologies gave rise to industries that accumulate wealth by pillaging the earth, poisoning the waters, and darkening the skies. Global temperatures are rising, seas are rising, storms are raging, fires are raging, and our current leadership is doing nothing to stop it. Humanity itself is in transition. Will we marshal the vision and the skill and the solidarity to solve this problem together? Or will we perish? I have been asking myself a question every day that I have come tonight to ask you. I believe the future is dark. But what if this darkness in our nation, in our world right now, what if this darkness is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? not dead, but a country still waiting to be born? What if the story of America is one long labor? What if all of our ancestors are standing behind us now? Those who survived colonization and genocide, Jim Crow segregation, political assault, sexual violence, what if they're standing behind us right now, whispering in our ear, you are brave. You are brave. What if this is our time of great transition? On the birthing table, the midwife says to breathe and then to push. This brings me to you. You are the community leaders and peace builders. You are the students and the educators. You are the people alive right now in this time in this great city. You have the ability to show up. All I know is that the only way we will endure is if we show up, to the labor and play our role in this time of transition. So people have asked me, how do I breathe? How do I push? How do I keep laboring for justice when it feels helpless and hopeless? And so I took this question very seriously. After the last presidential election, I got something that very few women who are mothers and activists get to have. I got time away to think. My husband and I moved our little family to a rainforest in Costa Rica with my parents, and there my father and my husband pulled a writing desk to a mountaintop, and my mother unpacked 100 pounds of journals I had kept since the age of 7. You were so gracious to do that. And my son, who was 2 years old, Cubby, sat on our shoulders, and we hiked through the rainforest in the mornings, and in the afternoon, I sat at a writing desk as the mist poured through the green valley. And the rainforest felt like a womb. It was warm and wet and safe and generative, and I was able to pour through the stories of my life, and I thought about social movements, the greatest social movements in history. From Gandhi to King to Mandela, they sustained their movements because they grounded people in the ethic of love. Now, I was trained as a lawyer to cringe whenever anyone said love was the answer. I would listen to Ani's music, but then I would never be able to say the words in front of the organizing room, because love, the way we talk about love, we talk about it as if it's a rush of emotion. And if love is just a rush of feeling, well then of course it's too fickle, too sentimental, too anemic to be a political force. But if we think about our strongest relationships in life, we know that they are sustained by practical, continuous care. And so I began to think it's time to reclaim love as a force for justice for a new time, for here and now. And so I want to offer you how I frame love. Love is a form of sweet labor, fierce, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving, a choice we make over and over again. Love is not any one feeling. Love is all of the feelings, right? Joy is the gift of love. Grief is the price of love. Anger is the force that protects that which is loved. And when we think we have reached our limit, wonder is the act that returns us to love. What happens when we love beyond what is prescribed? What happens when we love others who don't look like us? What happens when we love even our opponents who hurt us? What happens when we love ourselves who we too often neglect? Then I believe love becomes revolutionary. And so I define revolutionary love as the choice to enter into labor for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves. And if love is labor, then love can be taught, love can be modeled, and love can be practiced. And so tonight I wanted to offer you 3 practices of revolutionary love. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay. You didn't know this would turn into a kind of teach-in, right? So you're getting all the things tonight, all the things. So love for others, love for our opponents, and love for ourselves. The first practice, See no stranger. Now, all the great wisdom traditions have at their core a vision of oneness, the idea that we are interconnected and interdependent, that we can look upon the face of anyone and say as a spiritual declaration, but also as a biological and cosmological fact, you are a part of me I do not yet know. You are a part of me I do not yet know. Yet brain imaging studies tell us that our minds turn the world into us versus them in an instant. We can't help it. And who we see as one of us determines who we feel empathy for, who we feel compassion for, who we show up for in the streets and at the polls. You see, authoritarians win when the rest of us let them dehumanize entire groups of people. But we can change how we see. And how do we do it? How do we do it? Whose stories have you not yet heard? Whose stories have you not yet heard? Because whose stories you hear determines whose grief you let into your heart. And whose grief you let into your heart, who you sit with and who you weep with, determines who you organize with, who you fight with and who you fight for. And all of us have a role in the fight. What is your sword? Is it your pen? Is it your artist's brush? Is it your doctor's scalpel? Is it your pocketbook? Is it your Twitter feed? Every single one of us has a sword. Every single one of us has a role in the fight to build solidarity for all those groups who are in harm's way at this moment. But that brings me to the second practice. How do we love even our opponents as we are fighting them? Right? What makes this revolutionary? I call this practice tend the wound. Tend the wound. It's very easy to think about our opponents as evil. But here's what I've learned. There is no such thing as monsters in this world. Only people who are wounded. People whose blindness or insecurity or greed or ignorance causes them to cast the vote against us or pass the policy against us or pull the trigger when facing us. But when some of us listen to even their stories, beneath the sound bites and the slogans, we begin to hear their pain. You see, participation in oppression comes at a cost. It cuts people off from their own capacity to love. I know this is hard. The first person who was ever killed in a hate crime after September 11th was Babefest Singh Sodhi, a man I called uncle. This is me with Rana, his younger brother. After 15 years, 15 years, we decided to ask ourselves, who was the one person we have not yet tried to love, and we called Babir Uncle's murderer in prison. Talking to him, listening to him was deeply painful. But here's what I learned, that forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is freedom from hate. Free from hate, I was able to hear what I could not hear before. That white supremacist violence comes from ideologies that are fueled by unresolved grief and rage. They are radicalized by cultural norms and institutions that we together can change. You see, loving our opponents is not just moral, it is pragmatic, it is strategic, it is how we win, it is how we do not become like them. But here's the thing. It took us 15 years to make that call. You see, we needed those years to tend to our own grief and our own rage. If you are someone who is in harm's way right now, if you have your opponent's boot on your neck, it is not your time to wonder about your opponents. You let other people do that labor. That is why we are a community. That is why we are a movement, which brings me to the third practice. How do we love ourselves? I call this breathe and push. You see, social reformers from Gandhi to King to Mandela, they taught us a lot about how to love others and our opponents. They didn't teach us that much about how to love ourselves. This is a feminist intervention. This is Bell Hooks and Audre Lorde, who teach us that caring for ourselves is not self-indulgence, but a form of political warfare. For For too long have women, especially women of color, been told to suppress our rage, suppress our grief in the name of love, but no more. The movement cannot happen over our backs or on our backs or over our dead bodies. The midwife, she says to breathe and then to push and then to breathe again, right? She doesn't say breathe and push the rest of the way. It's breathe and push and breathe. And so I've come to ask you, how are you breathing? Are you breathing with music and movement? Are you breathing every day? For if we breathe, we can let joy in. How are you protecting your joy every day? In all of our labors, the labor of raising a family, the labor of making a movement, the labor of birthing a new nation, we need to be breathing together in order to push together. But remember, this is my husband's hand. Surprise. He helps me breathe every day. Remember, loving ourselves and forgetting to love others, forgetting to love our opponents, that is escapism. Loving only our opponents, forgetting to love others and ourselves, that is self-loathing. And loving only others, but forgetting how to love our opponents or ourselves, that is ineffective. And that is where so many of our movements are in the United States right now. We are seeing solidarity we have never seen before, but how many people are burning out? How many are opting out because they don't know how to love themselves? And how many of us are starting to mirror the vitriol that we are trying to fight? We cannot become the ones we are trying to resist. And so we need all three forms of love for love to be revolutionary, and revolutionary love can only be practiced in community. These days, I think of it like a compass. When I'm facing another person, I think, okay, how do I practice seeing no stranger? Maybe I need to wonder about them, hear their story. Maybe I need to grieve with them, let their pain in my heart. Maybe they need me to fight for them. That's what solidarity looks like. And when I see an opponent in front of me, then I have to practice how to tend the wound. Do I need to rage? Do I need to find a safe container for my rage, for my wound, so that it doesn't become violence directed outward or inward? Maybe I need to stay raging, and many of us need to stay raging right now in safe containers, but some of us may be ready to listen. So how do we listen to our opponents even when it's hard? How do we listen to gather the information we need to reimagine solutions, reimagine the conditions that perpetuate violence? And then I turn that compass on myself. How do I breathe? How do I push? How do I find the midwives to help me through this time of transition? You know, my family is here. So a few months ago, they came home from a summer concert in the park, my parents with my son, Kavi. And Kavi is now 4 years old, and he heard his first racial slur, "Go back to the country you came from." My parents were shaken, and Kavi, do you remember we were falling asleep together? And I asked you, where do you feel the sadness in your body? And you said, I feel it in my belly, Mommy, so Mommy kissed your belly, and you felt a little bit better? Well, then we started to go to sleep, and I thought Kavi was asleep, and my mind started racing, and I started to think about all this grown-up stuff, and I started to get worried about the future, and then suddenly, Kavi puts his ear on my mouth. He says, "Mommy, I not hear you breathing. You have to breathe to sleep, Mommy." Looks like you're right. And so I started to take deep breaths, and then I thought Kavi was asleep again, and my mind started racing again. And then suddenly, Kavi sits up and he says, "Mommy, what happened to breathe and push?" Just breathe and push, Mommy. Just breathe and push. And I thought, oh my God, my son has become my midwife. Yeah, you can applaud. You see, revolutions don't just happen in big, grand public moments. They also happen in the small pockets around the country, around the world, where people are coming together to inhabit a different way of being. Imagine hundreds and thousands of us practicing revolutionary love, leading our schools and our churches and our houses of worship, leading our businesses, raising our children, mobilizing the vote, leading with love, because how we make change, the way we make just as important as the change we make. And so that is why we are building a movement of faith leaders and artists and activists of all kinds. You see Ani up on that screen. We have her voice, her music as part of this beautiful movement that we're building, and we invite you in, and this brings me to ask you to take out your phones. Take out your phones and you can text Reclaim Love to 66866. We just set this up, everybody. So take out your phone to make sure it works. And the idea is that once you have texted this number, then you are part of the movement. We'll tell you about the book that will be released next year, the tools that we're developing, and how we're mobilizing, not just this next year, but in the years to come. Because this is what I know to be true. The labor for justice. The labor for justice lasts a lifetime. There is no end to the labor. That's why I'm so happy you are here tonight to breathe. As you listen to the musicians and the activists on the stage tonight, feel the breath in your body. Let it fill you up. Let it strengthen you to show up with love in your lives, to be brave in your lives. Because when we labor with love, love for others, love for our opponents, and love for ourselves, then the labor becomes an end in and of itself. For one day, we will be someone else's ancestors. They will gather here in this historic theater. And if we get this right, they will inherit not our fear, but our bravery. Thank you so much.